over some distributions of Linux and the different desktop environments that are available on Linux. So I'm here in Kali Linux, which the default desktop environment is GNOME, and Kali Linux that is based on Debian. And I'm going to be using a different desktop environment that is default than what is default in CST 630, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to be using the terminal. I recommend learning everything on the terminal first because anything that you need to get done in Linux can usually be accomplished in terminal. If you are SSH'd into another computer, you're not always going to be able to use the graphic user interface for something. So learning it on terminal is usually going to be the best way to be able to always use it that way. So there is two kinds of commands that you can run in a terminal window. The first kind of command is going to be built into Linux, and it's going to be based on the distribution you're using. And the second kind is going to be an additional package that has been added on. One of the easiest ways to learn how to use a new command is using the man command. The man command is short for the manual. So if we run the manual for the manual pages, then we will receive the manual pages for manual pages. This will give you all the details on how to run the man command and how the manual pages are composed. You can scroll up and down using the arrow keys, and you can press Q to quit out of the man page. Another way that you can get some help with using a command that you might be unfamiliar with in Linux is by using the TAC-H argument. So TAC-H is short for help. I've seen some packages utilize TAC help, like this, and I've seen some packages utilize the TAC question mark. But TAC-H is typically most often, and it will give you, similar to the man page, a list of arguments that you can include with your man page and what they do, but doesn't usually include quite as much information as the man page does. So, let's talk about navigating the directories of Linux. So, one of the first things that you should do is understand the file structure of Linux and where things belong. Just like on Windows, you have the C drive, and you have My Documents, and you have program data and program files. Linux has its own directory system where things belong. So we can see what directory we are currently located in this terminal by typing pwd. That tells us that we are in /root. If I use the ls command, that is the list command, and it will list all of the directories and files in my current directory. The ls command can take a few arguments, such as A for all, and that will give me all of the hidden files in this local directory as well. If you wanted to know about all the arguments that are available for ls, you can use the man page for ls, which will tell you that A is for all, C is for list entries by columns, F is for do not sort, and notice that it is case sensitive. So a TAC lowercase f is a different command than a TAC uppercase f. Anywhere you go in the Linux terminal, it will be case sensitive. So notice that desktop, documents, downloads, music, pictures, public, templates, and videos are all capitalized. So when utilizing the next command, cd, which is short for change directory, if you wanted to drill into one of these directories, you would have to type D desktop and hit enter, and now we are located in the desktop directory. If I use ls, I now see that there are no directories or files located on the desktop. If I want to return to the next directory higher, I can type cd ... and I will return to the /root folder. In the root folder, I have two directories that start with do. So if I want to type, so in Linux we have tab autocomplete. So if I type cd doc, there is only one directory in this folder that starts with the letters capital DOC. So if I press the tab button once, it automatically completes documents for me. If I type capital DO and I hit tab twice, it gives me a list of directories that start with capital DO. So if you have a long file name or a directory or file that you can't remember how to spell, you can use tab autocomplete to help you finish out that command. If we use the change directory command and go one directory higher than root, we are going to be in the root directory, which has all of the different folders of the file system. If we drill down into Etsy, we can see that here are all of the packages that are installed onto this virtual machine, and these are going to be a lot of the config files and a lot of the inner workings of some of the packages that are located inside of this virtual machine. You can also use change directory to specify an entire path. And now we've skipped over root and gone straight into documents. So there's a couple other important commands for working with files on the directory. So we're going to sit here in documents so that we can make and move and copy and rename things. So first of all, I don't want to dump all of my files into the documents folder, so I want to make a new directory. So make dir makes a directory, and I'm going to call it some directory. So now when I list all of the directories inside of documents, I get some dir, and I can change directory into some dir. But I don't have any files in here yet. So if I want to create a file, I have a few options. There are many commands that will make new files on Linux, but the one that I'm going to use right now for quick and easy is touch. Touch will create a file that I specify the name of. So if I touch somefile.txt or some file without .txt, it will create a somefile.txt. If I want to delete this file, I can type rm. rm deletes somefile.txt. So now it's gone. I'm going to create a new file called somefile2, and if I want to copy somefile2, I can copy somefile2 to one folder higher in the documents directory. So now I still have somefile2 here, but if I move to my documents directory, I also have somefile2 copied here. If I did not want to copy that, instead I can move with MV sumfile2.txt to where I want it to go. So this specifies, the ... specifies one directory higher, or we can specify an entire path, so /root/documents capitalized /sumfile2.txt. And now it is no longer in my sum dir. Now that document or that file is located in the documents folder. So now I want to move it back. Same process. File to some directory. Oh, I lost it. I didn't specify a name for the file in sumfile2. Alright, so that's enough playing with files. Let's get into reading and viewing the files. So for review, we can make directories with makedir. We can delete files with rm. And if you want to delete a directory, you need to type rm-r for deleting a directory, because that's recursive. It will delete the directory and everything inside of it. And we have copy with cp, makes a new copy of the file. So the first argument is the first file, and then the second argument is the second file, and you can annotate the directory that you want to put it in at the beginning. mv moves a file and also renames a file. So if you type move file 1, file 2, it will rename file 1 to file 2. Now let's create a new file. Okay, so now we have our file, and our file doesn't have anything in it, but if we wanted to read it, we would type cat sumfile.txt, and that would list out the first few lines of sumfile.txt. So to demonstrate this, I'm going to use a text editor. And the text editor that I have gotten familiar with is nano. So if we type nano sumfile.txt, we will now open sumfile.txt and begin editing it. If I typed in some name of some file that didn't exist, it would create a new file, just like Touch, and I would immediately begin editing it. So this is the layout of Nano. It is one of the easier to learn text editors in Terminal, and I'm going to add a little bit of text to this sum file so that I can show you the next few commands. This is some text. This is more text. This is a lot of text. This is too much text. And way down here, this is the end of the text. Alright, now to save something in Nano, these are the hotkeys along the bottom, and these little carets stand for control. So get help is Control G. Exit is Control X. So I'm going to hold Control and press the X key. It says, do you want to save? And I press the Y key. What do you want to call this file? I want to call it sumfile.txt. Enter. So now we've entered a little bit of text into sumfile.txt, and if I go back and I cat sumfile.txt, I get all of the return carriages and the text of sumfile.txt. Well, that is a lot of information, and I only wanted to see what it was about, so I might want to use the command more. More gives me the first. Now, more gives me all of it. I want to use the command head. Head sumfile.txt gives me the first 10 lines of sumfile.txt so that I can see a little bit about what's in it and what it's about without getting, my entire terminal covered in some program or letters or whatever happens to be in that file. Also, I can use the command tail to see the last 10 lines of sumfile.txt, so I can see how something is going to end, or maybe if it's been completed. More displays everything, and those are the major commands to work with files and file systems that I can think of. So if you have any questions, please let me know down in the comments, and keep watching for more information about Linux.